Welcome to the Sisters in Service podcast, the space where stories from active duty veterans, military spouses, and even military brats finally get the spotlight they deserve. I'm your host, Kat Corchado, Air Force veteran, movement specialist, and the heart behind this podcast. I started Sisters in Service because too many stories from our community were going untold. Stories of resilience, transition, identity, and the strength it takes to serve and to thrive beyond the uniform. This podcast is about connection, empowerment, and reminding each of us that our service didn't end when our military chapter closed. It simply evolved. Sisters in Service is proudly sponsored by Fit for Life Alliance, a space where people are committed to feeling better in their bodies every single day, and by My Sexy Business, where you can own a business that doesn't own you. So grab your coffee, your journal, or your walking shoes, because every episode is an invitation to listen, learn, and lean into the powerful stories that remind us service is a sisterhood that never fades. Welcome, everyone, to the latest episode of Sisters in Service. I'm your host, Kat Corchado, and this is a solo podcast today. And the reason is because I wanted to talk about something that's been bothering me a little bit. Actually, two things. So this episode is kind of personal for me. I want to talk about people who lie about their military service. You have the people who claim to have been in their service with no military record, people who were in but lied about their awards and decks, or people who were in but somehow have lied about being a combat veteran, claiming the combat they didn't see, medals they didn't earn, deployments they never endured. I'm also talking about something that doesn't get enough attention: women who actually served, women who deployed, women who led, women who sacrificed, and still get told you don't look like a veteran. Or mistakenly, the spouse of one. Let me be very, very clear here. I'm not saying that the military spouse's job is in any way, what's the word I want to use, is in any way harder than a military spouse. I've been a military brat, a military spouse, active duty, and now veteran. I understand that the person in the family in the military and the spouse that's supporting both have very difficult jobs. They're just different. And that's all I'm going to say about that. If you've ever been questioned, sometimes aggressively, by civilians who have never served a day in uniform, we're talking about integrity. We're talking about perception. We're talking about what service actually costs. Why do I lead with trust? When someone tells me they're a veteran, I believe them. Why wouldn't I? Integrity is not optional in our culture. It's foundational. However, I thought anyone who was in the military, all veterans, were just great individuals, great people. And now I understand that veterans are people and sometimes people suck. I get it. When I first started my podcast, I had a guest on the Sisters in Service podcast who presented herself as a combat veteran. I took her at her word. I didn't run a background investigation. I didn't cross-reference deployment orders. Because in our world, your word is your bond. Your word is supposed to mean something. Finding out later that parts of that story weren't accurate wasn't just disappointing, it was disruptive. Because when trust is misused, it makes you question something you shouldn't have to question. And that's the damage that this person's stolen valor creates for the rest of us. Service has a cost most people don't see. Those first steps of your child that are watched through a screen instead of at home. Anniversaries spent in another hemisphere or another country. Missing the birth of a child. Missing the funeral of someone you love. Holidays that feel like just another operational day. Those moments are gone forever. And the people who lived them didn't post about it for sympathy. They carried around in their heart and in their head. But still understanding that they were doing something bigger than they'll ever be. So when someone claims that sacrifice without living it is not harmless, yeah, it is. Because it's claiming an absence that wasn't yours. Especially if you weren't in the military. And I kind of don't blame them. They're wannabes. They want to be. But to lie about it is not good. The people that were in the military but lie about their awards and decorations or that they're a combat veteran, I blame them more than I blame anybody else. Because once I find out that you've lied, your integrity means nothing to me. I don't care what you do from that day on. So how many times as a female have you said, or has someone said to you, you don't look like a veteran? Or, oh, your husband was in. Or, were you active duty or just reserves? And reserves count, by the way, just saying. Or they want to know what you actually did. Did you push paper or did you actually carry a gun? I never carried a gun. Did I push paper? Yeah, I did. But you know what? I'm super proud of my 20 years. And I will go toe to toe with anyone who says otherwise. So what does a veteran look like? Because apparently some people think it comes with a very specific image. I have watched and known women who deployed, who led troops, who operated in combat zones, get mistaken for the spouse that's standing next to them as the real veteran. Now, I can't say for sure that my husband and I, we're both veterans, whenever we're in mixed company and we say we are retired military because we are, all of a sudden there's all these questions. And my husband, bless his heart, says, she's the retiree. I have seen women correct someone politely. No, I served, and then get interrogated by civilians who have never worn a uniform. And they ask you all these silly questions. Did you carry a gun? Did you have to shoot someone? Did you have to take orders? Blah, blah, blah. Or what's even more insulting? After having found out that I am the veteran, there's nothing but silence. No words, no questions, just the obligatory, thank you for your service. Oh, okay, yeah, I'm making that gagging sound. I wish that all civilians would say thank you for wearing the uniform. I think that we should start saying it to our active duty and military veterans. Thank you for wearing the uniform, because we understand. And when a civilian would say that to me, if a civilian would say that to me, that tells me that they understand the sacrifice, because it is a sacrifice. Let's be clear. It's okay to be curious. But it's not okay to be confrontational, especially when you're making me prove my veteran status when you have never, ever worn the uniform. There is a difference between asking to understand and asking to verify. And too often, women veterans are put in the position of having to prove something they've already lived. In the meantime, there are people that are fabricating entire combat histories online and rarely being questioned, especially with AI. 20 years ago after 9/11, military service was highly visible. Yellow ribbons were everywhere, public homecomings, national focus. But even then, the image of a veteran was narrow. Think about the last time we had a military holiday. And if you're watching TV, did you see women veterans being represented? Or even active duty? No, you probably didn't. And if you did, they were way in the background. They were not the focus. So I'm going to keep talking about this until someone finally says, look, this needs to happen. We need to see women. We need to have younger women see us and know what it was we did. Fast forward to today, fewer people serve, fewer civilians personally know someone in uniform, and social media allows anyone to craft a convincing narrative. So now you have real veterans who sacrifice deeply, civilians who don't always understand what service entails, and the occasional individual who tries to improve their identity around service they never performed. In that environment, women veterans are still fighting two battles. One, being recognized, and two, not being interrogated. Because honestly, that's exhausting. I would love to know if any of my male veterans are ever interrogated by a civilian. Ever, to prove their service. I'm just asking the question. So this is about integrity, not ego. This episode isn't about outrage. It's about standards. Because integrity matters. If someone tells me they are a veteran, I will believe them because that's who I am. But don't ever exploit that trust, because that trust should never be exploited. And women who serve should not have to defend their existence in rooms full of civilians who think they're gatekeepers of a culture they've never lived. Recognition isn't asking for applause. It's asking for identification. It's asking to be seen. We're women, we're moms, we're sisters. We're veterans, we're businesswomen, we're entrepreneurs, and everyone can identify with that. But when you say you're a veteran, they kind of go, ooh, hold on a second. Like I have to pull out my ID card or something, which I've never done and I refuse to do, just saying. So if you're a woman veteran listening and you've ever been told you don't look like a veteran, if you've ever been mistaken for the spouse, again, I reiterate, both jobs are hard. They're just different. If you've ever been questioned by someone who has never served, I see you. You don't know what it feels like. If you don't know, that's what I meant to say, what it feels like. Ask a woman veteran. Ask her. Say, have you ever been confronted that you're not a veteran? You might be kind of surprised. You don't owe anyone proof because we've lived it. And to the civilians listening, ask your questions with respect. Listen with humility and understand that service is more layered than the image you may have in your head. Integrity is not negotiable. Honor isn't something you borrow. And for all those women who served, we're not invisible. And we're done shrinking. So with that, I'll end this episode. As always, please stay safe. Take care of each other until next time. And please remember, it's never too late to start your impossible.